How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Tales from the Crypt, Volume 1, The Stalking Dead, or at least that's what Amazon refers to this as. My edition doesn't have anything written on it, and this is the first volume of the Super Geniuses run of the comic. They took over after paper cuts, and you get this really cool zombie cover. The spine just says Tales from the Crypt, like I said, no number, and the Super Geniuses and the EC Comics logo. Other editions, I don't know, maybe they do number it in other editions. The back has the Crypt Keeper as a surgeon in the cool surgery scene, and we get the new stories with art by, and then below here, plus 2 classic tales from modern master of horror, Bernie Wrightson. Now, because there's no introduction, I'm not sure what the circumstances are to these new tales. Are they reprints of old Tales from the Crypt? Are they old scripts they never used? I'm not sure, but it doesn't say, and there's no intro. Open it up, you get the fun inner cover there, the Crypt Keeper on the New York City subway. Really do like that image. And then we flip to the inner credits. As I often say, credit where credit is due, and you can see that there are 8 stories in here. It's really only 7 because Stakeout is more of an introduction than anything. And I read through the copyright stuff, but it doesn't say what this was originally published as, so I'm not sure if this is the first 2 or the first 3 issues of the comic. The whole thing's about 70 pages long, so it could be either, depending on how long the comics were. And let's go ahead and look at the interior stories. Now, I'm not going to be doing any spoilers, any major spoilers at least, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what the stories are about. Now, that being said, we will look at the entirety of Stakeout because that really is just an introduction. You get a guy sneaking into the graveyard. This is one of the classic stories, by the way. And you get to see him cartoonishly sneak around, and he goes to the crypt. He attacks a vampire, but then something spooks him. What's up? Well, it's our good old friends, the Ghoul Lunatics, with some meta commentary. No matter where we go, somebody always manages to dig us up, and why can't they just let us rest in peace? And you get to see the EC logo there and everything. Here's issue 1's cover, which I think actually some trades have this as the front cover, the surgery cover there. I, of course, have the zombie cover, which I do like more. I'm a zombie geek. And then the alternate drone strike cover, which is pretty fun. And we see this story is about a millionaire. This is called Divestment, and he's prolonging his life either through synthetic parts like his hand or organic replacement parts. This girl is selling both her kidneys, which will kill her, but her kids need the money. But of course, he's not going to give her as much as he says, but she's dead. What's she going to do about it? You see, this guy's a super huge jerk, which will lead to people protesting him after that. And when a rock goes through his window, he goes, okay, they struck first. I'm going to kill them with my drones. And the courts won't do anything because he owns the courts, but it's a PR nightmare. And there's this one lady who is the best PR agent. He forces her to come over there, and they're going to do a fun divestment day where they appear to rearrange the company to the benefit of mankind, but of course they're not really doing that. But this is Tales from the Crypt, and we know this divestment day is not going to go as he thinks it will. All in all, an okay story. Up next, Zombie Bank. The Crypt Keeper had the first story, and they're going to alternate, so now it's the old witch's turn. And you find this guy covered in blood telling a story, but what's his story there? Well, you see, it's the zombie apocalypse, but the world has pretty much moved on, and most people are zombies, and they still go about their everyday business. His zombie boss is a huge jerk, and most of the other zombies are as well. And the only person he likes is the secretary, Julia. Now, this story is actually probably one of the best, and when we get to the end, there's a little bit that recontextualizes it, and you can actually go back and really think about what the story really means, and it's a really good one, and plus I do like zombie stories, and this is a fun alternate take on the zombie story that I felt was really cool and well done. Now it's the Vault Keeper's turn. He's telling us about the Werewolf of Wall Street. There's a bunch of wealthy Wall Street people have gotten murdered, and the police haven't figured it out yet, and neither have his private investigators. You see that this one police officer is really mad at the Wall Street crowd and is like, you know what, that's not the worst thing that could happen. And you find the next day that the guy they were just talking to got thrown out of his window and gored on this bull sculpture, which is a pretty cool and gnarly death. And our main character, the female detective, has to figure out who's killing them all. Now, the fact that this story is titled The Werewolf of Wall Street kind of does give away what the ending to this story might be, but it's still a fun enough story, and I really do like the ending of this when it's revealed what all set these events in motion. Up next, we have the Crypt Keeper back, and he's telling us a story of Picture Perfect. This is easily the worst story here. You get the popular girl, and you get the unpopular girl that wants to be a photographer. The popular girl takes a picture of her bent over and shares it on the internet, and it gets 1,000 shares, which really on the internet isn't that much, and they don't ever address it in the story, but she's really lucky you can't see her face in this photograph. She has plausible deniability, at least, but still a terrible thing to happen, and she can't prove the other girl did it, so there's no repercussions for her, or at least none by the school, but we know this is Tales from the Crypt. There's going to be some otherworldly repercussions, and when you do get to the Tales from the Crypt stuff, it is actually pretty cool. The artwork gets significantly better, and I wish it was more of that, but sadly, a lot of this is awkward PSA land. You see they're reporting on the picture of a butt on the school video news for some reason, and she tries to get the girl in trouble, and she winds up getting yelled at herself again for some reason. And then I thought this wasn't real, this shot here of someone posting these giant posters of her bent over, but you see the guy there peeling them off, plus this does come up again later. Someone actually posted these giant photos. These are just weird things, and it's not really how people act, and it's just awkward PSA land for most of it. And you know, it is important to bring up the dangers of what modern bullying can be, but the whole thing's just awkwardly written, and until you get to the real Tales from the Crypt stuff, it's not great. Up next we get Undertow, another pretty cool story. You see there's a bunch of knocks at this kid's door, and all night, "Mommy, Mommy, please help!" And you get, okay, this is a woman being kept awake by her child, but then, dark twist, you see the child actually recently died, and she's still in therapy for it. This is a pretty cool, dark, and creepy story. I mean, that image right there is pretty haunting. The story, unfortunately, has to wrap up a little too quickly, but overall, I did like it, and has a pretty interesting twist, but cool imagery, but just, yeah, has to wrap up a little too quick, and you're like, ah, man, that could have really gone somewhere. Up next, another one of the classic stories. This is The Vault Keeper and the Vault of Horror, and it's called Feed It, and you see there's a underling type guy, a minion, and this guy who thinks he's really, really smart, and they're carrying a big sack back into the castle, and he drops it, and apparently there's a person in the sack who died, and he says, Don't you know that it only wants to eat live things, and we have to feed it?" A really cool something in the basement story, really classic Tales from the Crypt characters, and of course, you know, all gonna end terribly. A fun older story, what's in the basement? How is this, how is this guy who thinks he's so smart? What's gonna happen to him? And it's a pretty fun old story. He's a cool little image there. Tales from the Crypt, and he's rising from the grave, 1950 to 55. Anyway, moving right along, I think, we're already on our last story. The Witch's Cauldron, leather or not. You see this fashion designer with a weird birthmark, or all his family has it, I'm not sure what it's supposed to be, resting by the pool, and, oh hey, there's that cover from the front. He's a fashion designer, and a bunch of people want his clothes. He goes to the bar, and there's someone young and desperate trying to make it in the industry, and he says, "Hey, you really are beautiful. Why don't you come back to my house?" But he says, "Oh, I don't want to damage your reputation, so go in this separate car. I'll provide for you." And they get to the house, and something really creepy and sadistic is going to be up, but I don't want to spoil what exactly this guy's up to, but yeah, not the normal things you'd expect him to be up to. Overall, a pretty fun volume. I do like when compared to the Paper Cuts one, this was just a little more, it's nothing too shocking, but you get some mild language, no F-bombs, but some language, some gore, and some adult themes, nothing too crazy, but I do like that this was aimed at a little bit older of an audience, and that was pretty fun. Like I said, there's the zombie story was really classic, and out of the other 7 stories, there were, I'd say, 2 more that were pretty good, 3 that were okay, and then only 1 that was really bad, and, a pretty successful ratio. But yeah, the zombie story, you get classic tales of people being super huge jerks, but then, revenge will be coming for them, and overall, a pretty good book, and I definitely recommend it to Tales from the Crypt fans. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You're really helping the channel out. I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom if you guys want to see more. That'll probably be my Tales from the Crypt / EC Comics playlist. Anyway, have a good day, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom.